After months of incurring massive casualties, Russia seems to have achieved the thing they've longed for, seizing a Ukrainian village. But thanks to Ukraine, they held it for apparently just a couple of hours. We're going to break down exactly what has happened. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. This is, of course, taking place in Tabivka. Tabivka is a small village in the northern part of the country near Chernihiv Oblast. And what I think is unique about this, first off, as we've always talked about on this channel, in the north, the swings of control are just a little greater, right? The units that are deployed here are deployed in a much sort of thinner line, so to speak. The terrain is also, it's not really conducive to armored warfare. So offensives don't really produce breakthroughs. And a lot of units are willing to do a defense in depth with a withdrawal and then push back. And you can see here Russian forces doing just that, right? It looks like the work of possibly the 47th Tank Division. And you can see about 24 hours ago, they did a big thrust and took the town of Tabivka up to the river here. Now, looking over at the map, this is the actual map of Tabivka, and we're going to try to find where this little river or stream is located. I think it's this here. That's a kind of my leading thesis. Here's it's labeled as a river, but it looks more like a river bed. But I think this is probably the here we go. It's probably the Bilious River that's running up through here. So again, Ukrainian forces being forced out of Tabivka, but you can see exactly what Russia seized here. We're looking at basically an intersection, some small plots of land, abutting a couple of farms, just really a two stoplight town if there ever was one. Likely what Russian forces probably did is position their forces in this forested area here, likely heavily ground forces, and they likely were able to effectively attack across these open fields, drove the Ukrainians out likely to this wooded area here, where Ukraine then counterattacked and drove the Russians right back across the Belus. And you can see here, right, just Ukrainian forces, right, literally you can see the Belus here, and Ukrainian forces driving the Russians back to the other side of the river. And you can see kind of from the terrain map here that everything to the west of the river is an elevated position. So Ukrainian forces here are looking down on the Russian forces, everything up here sort of elevated, and it's going to give them a great field of fire up to the river here, the Belus. So I think that's probably what we're seeing happen. But I think the real meta here, the takeaway, is that Russian forces are increasingly ineffective in taking and holding territory of any substance. The only places we've seen Russian forces make gains is pushing into open ground, right? We can see here near Avdiivka, you've got some advances by Russian forces, but you zoom in here and you see what is this? Like, just, I guess this is along a road towards this Pervomaisky. But these are just such small, trivial advances, right? Seizing part of an open field here. It's really difficult to characterize this military operation as even being an advance, really. And the thing to know is that for Ukraine, as they've pivoted to this defensive posture, to this defensive fight, they are more able to choose the time and place where they're launching these ground attacks. As we've heard from a lot of different sources, for most Russian attacks, they are nearly defeated before they ever reach Ukrainian lines, which means that Ukrainian troops have been getting steadily fresher as they haven't had to engage in grueling fights. And so at the times where Ukraine does want to retake territory, they have the the battlefield capacity to do so, especially if you can imagine the Russian attack here, right? Imagine them driving or walking with APs along this road into these woodlines and getting just hammered by FPV drones, finally pushing the Ukrainians out, who the Ukrainians happy to withdraw to these elevated positions where they likely continue to harass the Russians as they try to dig in. And then probably at dawn the next day, I suspect Ukrainian forces, well rested and much better equipped, certainly with a lot of reconnaissance support from drones, were able to sweep in and just sweep the exhausted, attrited Russians back to where they started. So I think this is really emblematic of kind of how the fighting is going now, and a illustration of just one instance where Russia just cannot seem to get the job done. Guys, if you're interested in getting your tasks done, don't be like the Russians. Don't come into these fights exhausted without the fuel you need to get the job done. Sorry, I'm experimenting with different copy here. The point is, StrikeGum is your solution for that, right? 90 milligrams of caffeine. It's the perfect energy drink alternative. When I was in Afghanistan, of course, I would carry around Rippets, these disgusting energy drinks, cans of the things, just ding, 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 like in my cargo pockets. It was annoying and stupid, and frankly, energy drinks are disgusting. So I finally engineered a solution, right? It's made right here in the USA at a facility in Denver. 90 milligrams of caffeine in every piece, 100 milligrams of alpha GPC for maximum cognitive clarity, 0 sugar, so there's no sugar crash. This is what you need to fuel you, whether you're working out, going hunting, hustling hard at your job. StrikeGum's got you covered. So check us out, StrikeGum.com. We got 10% off for veterans. We have first-time customer discounts. You want to check it all out. And we've got tons and tons of 5-star reviews. So check us out, StrikeGum.com. Anyway, that's really all I had, guys. Of course, a huge thank you to the members of CombatVetNews.com. Let me know if there's other stories from the front lines that you want to see. Comment down below if you want me to talk about any specific battles or anything like that. See you in the next one. Cheers.